It is no news that electricity generation in Nigeria is insufficient to meet the demands of households and businesses. However, since the introduction of prepaid meters, electricity consumers have experienced some relief in the billing system of the electricity they consume, as they can now manage their own consumption. But some individuals are still charged heavily by the electricity distribution companies, or DISCOs, because they have not acquired the prepaid meters. Nonetheless, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has directed the 11 electricity distribution companies across the country to stop further collection of electricity bills under the estimated billing system. The NERC further mandated the DISCOs should distribute prepaid meters to customers on or before the 30th of April 2020. Now, what really is delaying the distribution of prepaid meters to every household in the country? Is the April deadline set by NERC feasible? These and more will be discussed on Nigeria Today. I'm Dennis Adigunle. Welcome to the program. And in the studio to discuss the abolishment of estimated billing is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA, and Chief Electrical Inspector of the Federation, in person of Peter Eweso, Engineer Peter Eweso. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, and also joining us via Skype from Lagos is Abdulkadir Shetima, General Manager, Finance and Management Services and Chairman of the Meter Asset Provider MAP Implementation Team. You're very welcome to Nigeria Today, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
All right. Let me come first to our guest in the studio, Engineer Peter Eweso. Just highlight for us what the differences are between estimated billing, the estimated billing system, and meter billing system.
Thank you. I think I probably let the viewer at home know that Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency is actually set up to carry out the enforcement of technical standards and regulations, inspection, testing, and certification of all categories of electrical installations, electrical materials and equipment, including electricity meters and instruments, to ensure that they have the right quality, the right type, to make sure they will dispense power in the appropriate measure, and that we are paying for what we're actually consuming. And so, if we now ask what is the difference is that estimated billing is a system whereby somebody just do what we call arithmetic calculation of the load in a house and then translate it into a tariff billing system, whereby it's an estimate of what they expect, presumption you've consumed. But metering billing is something that is a device which measures the amount of quantity of energy that is coming to my house that I have consumed and I have utilized. So that's the difference. One is a presumption, it's an estimate. Just think that, yes, in this type of a premises, I get to my point, you may have two flats, for example, and they look alike, but their power consumption can never be the same. But when you are doing estimated billing, because they fall in the same structure of flat, you give them the same kind of billing, except where the methodology is being refined. But even when you refine it, it's not as definite as a meter that will measure accurately what passes through it that the consumer has consumed.
And this estimated billing is how Nigerians have been paying for their electricity for the years gone by.
Well, some have been paying through that medium, some have been paying through actually either prepayment meter or post-payment meters.
I mean, prior to when the prepaid meter was introduced.
Oh, yes. But prepayment meter has been around for quite some time, though.
Okay. All right, so let me go to our guest in Lagos via Skype, Abdulkadir Shetima, General Manager, Finance and Management Services and chairman of the Meter Asset Provider. Mr. Abdul Kadir, you heard some of the comments of our guest in the studio. As of today, the NERC is mandated or directed DISCOs to stop further collection of electricity bills under the estimated billing system. Just give us your take on this directive.
Well, thank you very much. There is this adage that says the world runs on energy and energy runs on finance. We've had challenges in the Nigerian electricity supply industry. It's not working optimally. There are a lot of shortages and poor services generally. And a lot of that can be attributable to us not getting the financing right. Over the years, the distribution companies, and including generation, transmission, all the different players in the industry have complained of revenues not being sufficient to cover costs. And part of that problem is customers' apathy to pay. And customers also, rightly, some of them fail to pay because the service is suboptimal, it's not there. And upon it being suboptimal, the bills that are given in some cases are outrageous. So the Commission recently came out with the order on transitional capping of bills to primarily, one, protect unmetered residential and commercial customers in the R2 and C1 category and stop the arbitrary billing of those customers. The order also introduces parity and fairness in the billing of these groups of customers, and also it seeks to expedite the metering of all customers and improve customers' willingness to pay and ensure revenue assurance and sufficient funds to reduce losses and ensure sustained investment in the value chain for the benefit of Nigerians as a whole.
Just explain to us what you mean by the R2 and C1 category of customer.
Say that again?
R2 and C1 category of customer. Just explain to us what you mean by that.
Okay. The recent order on transitional capping of estimated bills applies to the R2 and C1. R2, we have about 5 major classes of customers, the way the tariff is designed. We have the residential customers. Let me explain. We have the residential customer group. Under the residential customer, we have the R1, who are the very low consuming group of customers. Their tariff is at 4 naira. It stays at 4 naira. And there are people that consume less than 50 kilowatt hours. So there is no change to those group of customers. They consume not more than 50, and their tariff is 4 naira. So in a month, 50 kilowatt hours times 4 naira, that's 200 naira. So their tariff stays at 200 naira per month, fixed. It can be more than that. That's for the R1, under the residential group, the R1, customers that consume less than 50 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
And 50 kilowatt hours is basically like around 2 bulbs, 2 to 3 electricity bulbs only, or 1 bulb and a fan. So it's very low consuming group of customers where consumption is not more than 50 kilowatt hours. Then the next category is the R2 classes of customers. Most homes belong to the R2 group. Then we also have the R3 and R4 group. That's for the residential group. Then we have commercial, which are basically businesses that are not into manufacturing. So the trading shops and all of that, they are also categorized into C1, C2, and C3.
Okay.
The C2 and the C3 are the maximum demand, just like the R3 and R4 under the residential maximum demand.
All right.
So it doesn't cover the maximum demand customers. It's only the R2 residential customers and then the C1 commercial customers that do not fall under maximum demand. And of course, other classes are the industrial or the D class. And then we have the religious houses and educational institutions. They are called the A class. And then we have the last group, which is the special tariff class that pertains to street lights.
Sure.
So all the other classes, apart from all the other groups, apart from R2 and C1, are expected to be metered. They must meter all those groups latest by April 2020. So in 2 months or so, they're supposed to meter all of those customers. So there is no issue of estimated bills for those classes of customers. The estimated bills will only be for the R2 and the C1, the residential R2 and the commercial C1, where a bulk of the bulk of customers fall under. And because we know it's practically impossible to close the metering gap within a very short time, it will take about 2 years or 3 years to close that gap. So because of that, we came up with this transitional order on capping. I'll give details on what that means.
All right, if you just stay with us, we'll come back to you shortly. Let me come back to the studio now, and our guest here, you heard some of the comments there. What would you say are the challenges with regards to the elimination of estimated billing, and how would you say this can be resolved once and for all?
Well, if we talk about challenges with estimated billing, at least actually have talked about the gap. But if we talk about the challenges of eliminating the estimated billing, one of the biggest challenge is finances. For you to acquire the number of meters that is to actually meet that metering gap. As of today, we have well over 4.5 million as a metering gap. And so the quantum of fund that is required to meet that is enormous. And so I think that's what he has said. For us to actually get the gap to be closed up, we then need to have adequate funding to buy the meters. The second part of it is that for us to actually close up this metering gap perfectly and permanently, we need to equally look at not just providing the meters, but at the same time, proper installation of these meters. You know, if you buy meter and you install them wrongly, the tendency of them getting bad, getting burnt is there. And so instead of you ramping up the metering that you are providing for people, you find that as you are losing large number of them, you find that you are actually not doing much. And so these are challenges. Like I used to say, if you have a meter you have installed in a house, for example, and the meter you've installed it wrongly, you install it at the load end, you then find out that whether you are on NEPA, or that is whether on the disco supply, or you're on your generator, that meter will read. So you find that sometimes it becomes a crazy billing, even though it is metered. You equally find out at the same time that if you have a fault in your house, which we call an earth fault, or a leakage, and you don't have proper earthing system, whether you put on devices, water heater, whatever, you don't put them on, that meter will see energy being consumed always. So these are part of the challenges that actually we need to deal with in ensuring that even when you've gone out of estimated billing, people don't face these other issues of my meter is still running. You hear daily, somebody say my meter is running, I bought credit of 50,000 in 1 or 2 weeks, it's gone. Some of the issues, we look into them as NEMSA because we are responsible for enforcement of proper installation. What we find out is that these situations are abound and always in most of the places.
All right. Okay. The abolishment of estimated billing, that's our topic on Nigeria today. We'll take a break now and hear from some people on the streets on their thoughts on this topic.
To me, the estimated billing, I would say, is an act of injustice and imbalance on the part of Nigerians, simply because, in fact, they started talking about the prepaid meter. So it will be better if that prepaid meter will be distributed to people so that people will use it accordingly and they will not be exploited.
I believe it should be abolished and let there be distribution of prepaid meter to all houses. That is what I believe it should happen, and government should make it available, because you don't expect someone as a community or someone to build a house, then buy his own meter, then you will now come and now start to pay, charge that person over something you bought with your money, which is absolutely unfair. So I believe things should be done right.
I think it's a good decision, and it's what Nigerians have been expecting for a long time. It's a bad thing for all the discos going around issuing estimated billing without even taking the reading of the meters. And they will be giving out a kind of huge amount charges for Nigerians to be paying. So people have been clamoring for that. This decision should not just be a statement. The regulation agencies should make sure that they monitor these activities.
All right, welcome back to the studio if you're just joining us. The topic is the abolishment of estimated billing, and the Managing Director, CEO of Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency and Chief Electrical Inspector of the Federation is here with us, Peter Eweso. And also with us is via Skype is Abdulkadir Shetima, General Manager, Finance and Management Services and Chairman of the Meter Asset Provider Map Implementation Team. Sir, in Lagos, no doubt you heard some of the comments from members of the public there, and it's no news that there's a clamor for this prepaid meter to be installed in every household in the country. Just highlight for us what exactly are the challenges in providing the prepaid meter to pretty much everywhere, every corner of the country.
Regulation on meter asset providers by opening up the metering space and introducing third-party private investors to provide meters separate from the distribution companies. The commission set out a competitive procurement framework under which the discos were mandated to engage these private entities to provide the meter. So all of that was done. Some tender auditors were appointed by the commission to ensure integrity of the process. All of that happened, and it ended up with the commission setting prices for single phase and three phase. That was up in the region of about 37 and 67,000 naira. But that went up with the increase in VAT slightly. But we are not satisfied with the pace of deployment of meters under that scheme. Some of the challenges that cropped up were, one, there was a review of a levy on importation of meters, an airport review, after the procurement process had been concluded and the contracts had been signed and the private entities had started the deployment of meters. So many of them had shipped their meters from China, from Europe and other places. But this new levy of about 35% caught up with it, and they complained of either the price going up to recognize this levy or the levy should be reversed. So we've been engaging with the Nigerian Customs Service and the Ministry of Finance on the need to suspend the introduction of this levy until we close the metering gap, because the focus now is first and foremost on ensuring all customers have meters as quickly as possible. Of course, it's laudable to protect local manufacturing industries and all of that. So that has been the major challenge. Other challenges have been access to long-term financing and, of course, teething problems of the entities at the beginning. It's normal for it to be slow at the beginning and then it picks up later. So we're putting a lot of pressure on the meter asset providers and the distribution companies to ramp up the level of meter deployment. And this order on capping will also push the distribution companies and the MAPs to provide the meters quickly, because if a distribution company feels that a customer is being underbilled as a result of the cap that is placed by this order, then it is incentivized to quickly go and put a meter on those customers.
All right,
even quicker than
okay.
earlier in this.
All right, you got that. How optimistic are you about this 30th of April 2020 deadline with regards to providing prepaid meters? How feasible is it?
It's not just, this is not just coming up. The Commission had earlier on given a deadline in 2017 for the discourse to close the metering gap for maximum demand customers. So whether they are under the residential group, the commercial group, or the industrial group, they were given the deadline to close the gap of those customers.
All right.
So and most of them have closed those gaps to, I'm sure, to more than 90%. If there are any few customers under the maximum demand that have not been metered, well, they quickly better go and meter those customers before the end of April this year. If they don't, those customers are at liberty by this order not to pay any estimated bill.
Sure.
And the discourse cannot disconnect such customers for non-payment of estimated bills. There is no excuse for not metering those customers because there are not that many compared to the R2 and C1. So it is doable. There are not many that are unmetered under those categories. The focus now is on the R2 and C1 that are many, but that have to be protected by introducing this cap.
All right, Abdul Kadir Shettima, General Manager, Finance and Management Services Agency. We thank you for being with us, also the Chairman of the Meter Assets Provider MAP Implementation Team. Thanks very much for your input and expertise on this topic. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, our time is fast spent. Just give us your final closing thoughts on this topic and how you perceive or hope that things will improve going forward.
Thank you, Dennis. I think the representative of the regulator has actually given us the assurance, which the way he has spoken actually is a pointer.
Yeah,
it's doable. And this directive is not just a directive of today.
Yeah.
It's a directive which actually commenced in 2017, which means they've been given ample opportunity to deal with the issue. And so the period of April 30th then is an assurance from them. The only thing I would say is that all these ones too still require kind of monitoring and follow-up. Knowing the kind of environments we are, and then knowing the difficulties like he has alluded to in terms of after procurement have been completed, some parameters have changed. And when those parameters change, you know, there could be hindrance. So all these are things that I think they need to look at. And for me, I think going forward, definitely there is a lot of improvement, a lot of assurance, and you see people who are talking today. It's a good thing. It's for us to press it on and make sure we use all the enforcement tools to deal with the issue to the level to which Nigeria will be at comfort.
Sure. And very briefly, just give us how NEMSA will continue to play its own role in ensuring value for money for the customers.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very briefly, please.
Like I said at the beginning, NEMSA's mandate in the sector is to ensure that the meter they give me and you have the right quality, the right type. And so we just tell people is to say, NEMSA is always doing its job, but we want the customers to do their job by ensuring that any meter they put in your house, if you do not see NEMSA seal, know that that meter is fake, know that the meter has not been tested, and know that the meter cannot give you value for money. The seal, there's a seal which is NEMSA engraved, and that actually is the key with which you lock. So if you build a house and then it's open, no door. So, but that is the key with which you lock that meter to show that this meter, and then it has a test label on it which shows you the due date, because these meters are not there forever. After a period of 2 to 3, 4 years, those meters need to be retested to ensure that they still maintain the accuracy that they're supposed to.
Okay, Peter Eweso, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer at the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA, and Chief Electrical Inspector of the Federation, Engineer Peter Eweso. Thanks very much for your expertise on this topic.
Thank you, Dennis.
And your inputs. And thanks once again goes to our guests who came to us via Skype, Abdulkadir Shettima, General Manager, Finance and Management Services and Chairman of the Meter Asset Provider MAP. Thanks again. And to our VOE, thank you for being part of the program. And as always, Nigeria Today airs every weekday live at 7:30 p.m. You can also catch this and other episodes on our YouTube address, youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I'm Dennis Adegunloye. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.